Hey folks, it's Frithgar here, how you doing? I am having a whale of a time here using the Big Bud. I've finished doing the field, well he's finished doing the field for the most part. We've just got sort of round the edges and everything to do. I'm not going to do everything, I'm not going to be like super tidy with it. I'm just going to try and get most of it done. This little bit here, I need to just press Y so that it does the allow create fields, and I want to create that into a field because it's not actually ploughed up, that little tiny bit. So I'll just do that, take it off of allow create fields, and we'll go back to what I was doing. Right, let's lift that back up and come up round. So my question for this week, which plough do you want me to get? I realise that I'm using a absolutely enormous plough, but I'm not going to be using that plough indefinitely. That is only temporarily this week whilst we have a good look at what Big Bud has to offer. Amazon K-Ron 200, a 6-furrow reversible plough 3 meters wide. A Lemkin Titan 11 4.9 meters wide, which is a 9-furrow reversible plough. That's quite a plough actually, that thing. Or we will use the Jimper SJ9SR, the 4.8 meter one. I'm deliberately not picking out the very widest one, partly because I'm not sure it'll even fit through the gateways, but also because I want to pick a subsoiler that is the same width as the bigger plough that we're using. The Lemkin Titan 11, or the bigger plough that's on offer. I don't want people being always influenced by just picking the biggest. And if I say that one, you'll go for that one because it's the widest plough. I know how these questions go, which is why I'm putting two the same, plus a smaller one, just in case that people do feel that we should have a smaller one this time round. So those are your three options: the Amazon, the Lemkin, or the Jimper. Head into the comment section. It's your vote. It's your game. Head in the comment section down below, let us know which one you want and why, and of course don't forget to actually cast your vote in the top right hand corner. We are finishing off the ploughing with the Big Bud. Now for those of you who missed yesterday's episode, we entered into a competition, an international agricultural competition, and the prize was basically we could pick, we had a whole range of prizes, and I said that I would like to be able to operate the largest machinery in the world, and because the people running the competition are obscenely wealthy, and got loads of money and could, you know, basically good publicity for them, they have shipped the largest tractor ever made, the Big Bud 747, all the way over here to New Zealand, along with a massive range of machinery that we can use with it, and we are having a play up in these fields. That's how we've got it. That's the story of how we got the Big Bud 747 here in New Zealand. Maybe not quite exactly realistic, but I will say that if you're after realism and a strict adherence to realism, it might be better off if you come back next week, because it's all about this Big Bud and the big stuff this week. I'm absolutely shameless in wanting to use this. I think this is an absolutely magnificent, this is the best DLC that I have yet seen of any of the Farming Simulator games, and I absolutely adore it. And they have done some really spectacular DLCs in their time. Ooh, the plough is swinging around a bit there. Yeah, there's been some amazing DLCs for Farming Simulator. There's been all sorts of stuff released, but this one, this is just magnificent. This one has really grabbed me. I really, really do like it. I'm not doing right tight into the corners. I think this plough is a little bit big for doing right up into those corners. It's struggling here on the hills. I don't think this thing is designed for undulating ground. I think this thing is designed for mile upon mile of dead flat ground. I might be wrong. It might be designed for hills as well, but I get the impression that it's not really. We shall see. So yeah, I won't do right up to the edges. I might go a bit closer to the edge with the cultivator in a little while, but right now we're not going to worry about that. So we'll swing on round here, and what I will do while I'm sort of with you guys, I'm going to run up through here on this side of the field, and we'll go across the top. Then I will finish doing this field. I'll just finish it off, tidy everything up, or get most of it finished and tidied up, and then I'll put this one into the next field. And remember our disaster yesterday. We got the workshop and we put it there so that we could swap over and put triple wheels onto this tractor, because we'd love to see this thing running with triple wheels. Unfortunately, It's leased, obviously, and we can't customize leased machinery. So if you want to see triple wheels on my Big Bud tractor, you will have to wait until Sunday's time-lapse episode, because after this week I won't be using the Big Bud stuff in any regular Let's Plays for quite some time. I might. Goldcrest is moving to Gorali next, and so the massive machinery won't have a place there. It's not going to fit. And it's not going to fit here either. But after we've been to Gorali and we move somewhere else, we could be moving to somewhere that is big enough to use some of this machinery. So we may end up being able to use it in a regular Let's Play on a regular basis as well, which would be pretty cool. I don't think we'll do American Outback. I love the map, I really do. I think it's fantastic, but a lot of people are doing it, and I noticed that, well, actually, I watch Daggerwin's channel, and he's not long started doing American Outback, so he can use the Big Bud equipment on there, and so for that reason, I don't think I should do a American Outback so that I can use the Big Bud equipment on there, because that might just seem a little bit like plagiarism. At least it does to me. I'm not about to start copying all of Daggerwin's ideas. We can both come up with our own individual ideas, and we'll take it from there. So yes, for that reason, I won't be using American Outback in order to use Big Bud equipment. We may put it up for a vote at some point, much later on in Farming Simulator 17, but we will see. I might just sort of say, no, the Daggerwin's gone there, so we'll find a different one to go to, because, quite frankly, we don't want to be copying everybody else. You know, there's little point in me doing it as well as him, and it just feels a bit too much like, oh, that's a good idea, so I'll do it as well. And to me, that doesn't sit well with me. It doesn't sit right. I think that we need to come up with our own ideas. So we'll look at some different maps for Let's Playing on, and there's plenty of maps around that we can use this stuff on. Look at that plough swinging sideways at the moment. That's fantastic. And this tractor's not even breaking a sweat. It's got a 20 furrow plough that we're pulling on here. And for those of you in sort of large areas of the States, you guys don't plough like this anymore. I'm well aware of that. So this is kind of unfamiliar to you, and so the power that it takes to pull a plough through the ground compared to a cultivator or a chisel plough, which operates completely differently, is phenomenal. Ploughing is a very horsepower heavy job that you got to do. And for those parts of the world that don't do ploughing anymore, it's kind of it's difficult to explain just how impressive watching a 20 furrow reversible plough at work is. It's unless you've seen a massive, great big tractor struggling to pull a 6 furrow reversible through the ground, it's kind of not something really that you can explain. It's just one of those things. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish ploughing this field, because we do need to get on. We want to be able to plant, we want to plough, cultivate and plant all of these fields. So I will see you once I've got this tractor over into the next field, and we can start using the smaller tractor over there with the cultivator on this one, so that we can prepare our seed bed, and hopefully we'll be able to drill all of both of these fields tomorrow. Alright, I have just about finished this field now. All of that has now been done. It's actually taken quite a while to just sort of finish off the last of it, and there's a couple of little bits that I've left. For the most part, I was actually going to leave it a little bit more untidy than this, but then I noticed there's a couple bits that aren't actually field and needed to be like turned from meta. I needed to switch on the allow or create fields bit. I know I'm sort of wiggling all over the place, and this is not the way to treat a plough, but yeah, it'll be fine. We won't worry about that. We're trying to get this job done quickly. Right, now then, if I can't fold it from here. What I got to do is I got to turn it over. There's only one direction that will allow you to fold from. I don't think that is anything to do with how the real plough performs. I think that is just how the game actually decides to do it. So we've got to put it that direction, and then we can fold it and bring it back to the middle and put it up on top like that, and then we can continue on, and we just want to squeeze through this gateway here, and this is where you really got to slow down getting through the gateways, because it's quite a squeeze. Yeah, you can just get through. The ladders basically just brush the gateposts on either side. The two big seed drills did not fit through the gateways at all. It was just not going to happen. So we're going to have to use the small seed drill in order to be able to do these fields, which is a little bit of a shame because I was kind of looking forward to being able to use the big seed drill for it. But there you go. We can't win everything. So I'm going to turn it over so that we're ploughing in the right direction, and we're going to start going alongside this fence. Hopefully it'll just carry on going up and down this field without any issues whatsoever. I will bring it out a little bit from the fence. We will start about here. Alright, let's try that. And just press H. It should carry right on now. What do you mean you've completed your task? You haven't completed anything. Right, go a little bit further. Okay, now it's working. No, it's not working. It's thinking about turning round. So let me... Oh, no, I don't want to turn it. I'll lower it down again. We might have a little bit of an issue. It worked okay when I tested it previously, but let's get going a little bit further and then press H and see if it will do it. I'm wanting it to get up to the other end. It might just be because it's too close to the fence. This one, because of the enormous turning circle that this machine requires, it does cause a few issues. I don't know what the cultivators and that are going to be like for turning circles. I'm guessing it's not going to be quite so bad as this plough. But fortunately, you only got to plough every 3 harvests, so it's not going to be so much of a problem. But yeah, I tried the largest 2 seed drills and the big cultivator, and those are both sort of nearly the width of this plough when the plough is unfolded. There's no way that those are going to be able to get through any of the gateways on this map. They did get through the double gateways, and they just, when I say they got through, they just got through the double gateways. Just. So, yeah, if they can just about squeeze through a double gateway, the normal single gateways that are on this map, it's just not going to happen, is it? So this one seems to be doing okay. We can let him carry on and do the ploughing, and we're going to use the smaller, wrong way, this one. We're going to use this smaller 500 horsepower Big Bud 450. Here it is, and we have got on the back the cultivator. I don't remember what this one's called, actually. Let's take a look. With our cultivators, so you've got in here, it's the Bednar, the Swifter SM 18000 Bednar. And then the Flexi Coil, that doesn't fit through the gateways on this map. That's not going to happen. And in sewing machines here, once again, this one here, the Hudson Bickler Terminator TH18. The Terminator doesn't fit through the gateways. It's a bit of a shame. I really like the idea of being able to use a seed drill called the Terminator. It just sounds cool. The Seed Hawk, that doesn't fit through the gateways either. I'm hoping I can get those two through gateways and stuff on Rattlesnake Valley. I fully intend to be using those. So what we'll have to do on this map is we'll have to do our planting with this Great Plains seed drill right here. I don't know what I'm going to plant up here, actually. We've done wheat. We've done quite a lot of wheat down in our other fields. We might plant beans up here, I think. I think it might be easier to harvest beans as well. You know what? I'm bringing this one over here. I don't think I will. I think I'll keep this one back this way. And we'll do round these trees first. Oh, there was something else I wanted to check. Not in there. I wanted to check in here. I wanted to look into the garage. You know what? I might as well just do here where we're at. Oh, no. I thought it was at there. Right, so that one there, it says it requires 500 horsepower, which is quite fortunate because that's what we've got. Okay. Ah, so that one does the ploughing, really. That should be in the other one rather than in that one. But that's actually a lot more like the American-style ploughs. It's a chisel plough rather than a moldboard plough like we so often use here in Europe. You do see chisel ploughs, but they're a lot less common than the other ones. So now this one comes out round. He dances and bucks around quite a great deal. But unfortunately, I can't see any way to stop it from doing that, because even if you're moving when it's unfolded... Oh, hang on. Unless you're supposed to do it like this. So, as it's coming back round now I start going forward to try and keep those wheels moving slightly. There we go. So if I'm going to unfold it, I need to be backing up as I do it to try and keep those wheels moving a little bit. But once it gets around to there... then we seem to be okay. The 747 is doing a grand job over in the distance there. We can see him doing just fine. And now for our cultivating. How is this one going to work out? So let's lower him down into the ground. There we go. One thing I have noticed about this, because I did test this one first, is that it actually cultivates a little bit right here in front of... I'm going to have to bring it up. Actually, you know what? Let's jump out the cab a minute and I'll show you this way. So yeah, it cultivates a little bit there in front of the wheels, and then cultivates again after wheels. I'm guessing that's to try and give the wheels a bit of a smoother ride on the ground. I don't know if the wheels are like assisted in any way, whether there's hydraulic power going to the wheels at all to give them any kind of power assistance on the ground. No idea about that at all. But I would guess that having the cultivator bit, the tines right in front of the wheels, would give a more level ride for those wheels, which would in turn would kind of like go out towards the rest of the machine to make the rest of the machine operate slightly more smoothly, I suppose. That's the only thing that I can think of. I may be having the double cultivation over the wheels, because obviously you're also breaking up the land that the tractor wheels have driven on as well. You're giving that some extra attention compared to the rest of the field, and I would guess that that's kind of the idea of it all. It would help out that the overall result would be improved by giving a double cultivation on the bit where the wheels have travelled compared to the rest of the field. Anyway, that's my theory on that one. I'm not exactly sure, because I've never personally driven machinery that is big enough to have to worry about such a thing. The cultivators and that I've used have been maybe 3 times the width of the tractor, so not really big enough to have to cause the kind of compaction in the field that you would need to sort of address such a thing by putting extra bits onto the machine. That's got to be it. It's got to be it, hasn't it? At least I'm assuming so. So anyway, we have a 500 horsepower Big Bud tractor, and it's going uphill here, and it really is grunting. Got black smoke belching out of the smokestack there. Absolutely fantastic. And the air intake on this one looks like it's right up on top of the cab. So in theory, if that is the engine air intake, you could in theory drive this tractor practically submerged without causing it any harm. Might get a soggy seat, but other than that, you wouldn't have any trouble. That is fantastic. If I'm right on that, anybody that actually knows anything about the Big Bud, you know, there's got to be people out there that know about these tractors. I know nothing about these tractors other than what Farming Simulator have told me, and sort of I read briefly up on a wiki entry on what it is, which is how I know that the 747 is these days kept in a museum. One of a kind. That one was custom made for a farm in, I want to say Minnesota, but I could be wrong on that point. But yeah, that 747 was a custom built tractor for one farm only, and is now in a museum. The other Big Bud tractors, they were mass produced, and so you find several of them. I don't know how many, but they were mass produced for several years. They were in production for quite a long time. And they're no longer in production, although I did hear a rumour somewhere, and I have no idea where I heard this rumour, but I did hear a rumour somewhere that Big Bud was actually, that somebody was going to start manufacturing Big Bud again, and it was going to be a comeback, a return of the Big Bud, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. I love that idea. And I really hope that they go and build another 1100 horsepower tractor, because that would be fantastic. To be able to start mass producing the largest tractor in the world, rather than it just being a one-off custom job, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I would love to see that. Although I'm unlikely to ever see something like that driving in my part of the world, because it simply wouldn't fit down any of the roads. Where I live in the UK is notorious for having very, very small roads, and more and more farmers try to increase the size of their machinery. However, you're very limited by the fact that you can't get from one field to another around here, except with smaller machinery. And you have tractors going down the roads with wheels touching either bank. And yeah, and that's not even on the smallest roads. You have to plan your route carefully in places, because otherwise you're just not going to go anywhere. Now, I think if we You know what, I think that we could sort of do this field maybe in 2 halves, or if we just go along sideways along the top, maybe that would be the better option. Let's lift it, and we'll go out onto the ploughed ground while we're running around with it lifted. And I think if we... I think we're going to need a bigger turning circle on it, to be honest, though, aren't we? I think that trying to do it with one pass for being able to do our turning on the ends is not going to be enough. So if we bring this one over here, I'll lower it back into the ground now, so that we leave cultivated soil behind us. And going through here. And yes, for those of you who are wondering, why am I cultivating after ploughing? The cultivator that you can just plant straight after ploughing. Yeah, sorry about that. So yes, you can cultivate directly after ploughing, can't you? So why aren't you doing? This is my nod towards realism. I know that I'm not exactly doing anything particularly realistic today, or this week even. However, you can't just sow after you plough. You just can't do it, because the way that a direct cultivator works, a direct planter works, it needs to have fairly solid ground. And if the ground is broken up, it needs to be broken into a proper seed bed in order to be able to plant properly. If you try to plant into ploughed ground, it struggles, because all it does is it just moves the clods out the way. When you plough, it tends to break the soil up into big lumps, and that's the clods. That's what we call a clod. But the thing is, those great big clods, if you want to make a seed bed, you've got to break them up, and that's what we're doing here. This is what the cultivator does. Now, this is actually a springtime cultivator, and I just want to jump out, and completely unrealistically there, by the way. Now, if you have a look at the shape, that one does dance around a lot, doesn't it? If you have a look at these tines here, now these are what is called a springtime cultivator. And what it is the whole thing is made into a sort of a spring. Now, that sticks into the ground 3 to 4 inches. It does depend on the type of soil that you use, but generally 3 to 4 inches. And as you pull forward, it tends to sort of slip sideways. It goes one way and then the other. And because it's all on a great big spring, it starts to move from side to side very fast. And in fact, it starts to vibrate. And that vibration that sort of builds up, that will shatter any lump of soil that it passes over. These rollers at the front, they help to break them up, as do these sort of paddle bits at the front as well. They break up the very largest of the clods. And then the roller what the roller does is it compresses the soil down ever so slightly, just presses it down harder to sort of join it together a little bit. Then the spring tines go through, and those are vibrating like mad. You've got to be able to go at a reasonable speed. You can't go too slow with one of these. It does have to maintain a certain speed in order for that vibration to be going perfectly. And once the vibration is going, anything that those tines touch, any clod of soil, is instantly shattered into little tiny bits. And it doesn't have to touch very much of it, and it will shatter it. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. These springtime cultivators have been used for many, many years. It's the exact same design. And the really amazing thing about it is that the tiny, tiny little springtime cultivators that were being used 100 years ago now are exactly the same in size, shape and appearance as the springtimes that are being used on this. The only difference between this cultivator and one that was used over 100 years ago is that this one is bigger. That's the only difference. Now, horse-drawn stuff, that was slightly different. So 100 years ago is when tractors started to be used, and you would have used a springtime. I don't know if there were springtimes being used on horse-drawn material implements or not. I'm not actually sure about that. I've not really looked into it. But I do know about the springtime cultivator because I've used one quite a lot. And yeah, so it shatters those clods of soil. Now, those clods of soil, you can't grow anything in a great big clod of soil, right? It just doesn't work. And reason being that you try and plant seeds and it just drops down in between those clods of soil, and then they dry out and they're almost like rocks. Those clods of soil become almost like stones, and it makes a very, very rough, uneven surface, and it's very difficult to get your crops to grow properly, because basically you just covered your field in massive great big stones, which is all these clods that have all dried out, and because they're all covered in because the whole field is covered in stones. Now this one you don't want to turn too sharp because you don't want to be pulling the tines sideways. However, spring tines can take quite a lot of sideways abuse. You can turn fairly well sideways with a spring tine. Different types of cultivators work in different ways, and I've been told about quite a lot of them that you don't want to be pulling the shanks off when you're turning sideways too much. Spring tines, you can turn sideways. Trust me on this, I've spun a tractor on dime with a spring tine, and it will still work just fine. Okay, it doesn't hurt the spring tines. It may hurt the other parts of the cultivator, admittedly, because we've got those longer bits at the front there that are helping to break up the largest clods. That it might hurt, and the rollers would tend to just sort of scuff sideways a bit. Yeah, this one's really struggling now to get up this hill, isn't he? Look at him. The wheels are actually slipping. That's brilliant. That's the ground response mod, that is, kicking into gear there. Wheels are spinning, is kicking up dirt. That's fantastic. That is, I really do like that. That is brilliant. I absolutely love this mod. The whole mod pack. I genuinely do. I'm absolutely impressed with this mod pack. I'm more impressed with this mod pack than I've been impressed with any kind of mod pack that I've seen for quite some time now. Let's just zoom back out again. Right, we'll get these little bits here. I was actually planning to let the hired help have a go, but I'm having so much fun driving this thing. But yeah, if you try to direct drill through a freshly ploughed land without cultivating it first, you will end up with basically your seeds sort of falling in between these. Yes, the direct drill will break up some of the clods, but it doesn't do a very good job of it. And so then your crop is trying to grow up around and through all of these great big clods that become like stones. They become that hard, they're like stones. And your crop isn't going to grow very well if you're trying to grow it through stones. And so it impacts it. And then, of course, when you come to actually harvest your crop, you've then got the issue of all these great big lumps all over the field, which is going to make your harvester bounce around a little bit. And you end up getting some of those going to the front of the header on the combine. It's just bad. Yeah, bad things happen. So that is why we cultivate after we plough. So you can, especially with a springtime cultivator, I mean, various different cultivators can do various different conditions, but a springtime cultivator, I have ploughed up, well, not ploughed up, I've cultivated up in order to reseed because the seed was quite rough on the pasture. I suppose spinning that sharp with one this wide might not be very good for the springtimes because you're pushing them backwards, and they don't tend to like that. But generally speaking, you can go as sharp as you like with the springtimes. But yeah, I've actually used a springtime cultivator on land that has been grassland. It's just been pasture grassland for hundreds of years. Never been ploughed up, but the grass wasn't doing very well, so we wanted to reseed it. And there were some rough patches in it as well that had some work doing on it. So we decided that we would just cultivate the whole lot. And we didn't have a plough available because this farm wasn't an arable farm. So we got a springtime cultivator that was kicking around in the hedge, and we just went through it with that. It ripped through the ground. We did have to go over it 5 times because the first couple of times it's breaking through some very hard ground that had never been broken before. But it worked. It did work. Eventually we managed to get, and we built it up to a fine tilth. It was absolutely great. And then we stuck a load of grass seed into a fertilizer spinner with a little bit of fertilizer as well, and went over it with that, and everything was planted, and that worked really well. We got a nice field of grass on that afterwards. That there, see, I think that's just fine, turning that kind of sharpness with the cultivator. Anyway, I have run out of time, so I'm going to finish doing this field, and I will also finish doing that field over there. I might just let you see me sort of finishing off, because I love using that plough, so I'm going to assume that if I really genuinely love it, you guys might like it as well. So I'll just show you sort of doing a little bit of finishing off that field with the plough. We'll get the cultivator going in there so that one can finish off, and I want to get the Great Plains seed drill up here as well tomorrow. I'm going to put a load of seed in that down at the... Yeah, I think I'll just load it up with seed down at the bottom. I'll get the seed into that one down there, and then we can get the seed drill up here, and we can start planting up here. And I think if we plant beans up here, it'll make it a little bit easier when it comes to harvesting it, because obviously we won't have so much corn to try and drag away from here. And I don't really want to do sunflowers, because that means getting a whole new sunflower header and everything. Right, I haven't even got this thing lowered down. Don't I? No, I don't. Yeah. Really, it really does struggle in places here, doesn't it? It's a 500 horsepower this tractor is. That's absolutely phenomenal. That is a huge amount of power, and it's really genuinely struggling here. So let's just try and straighten it up. There we go. I'm going to put the hired help going on that for a minute. My question for this week is, which plough would you like me to get when we get back to normal next week on this map? Do you want me to use the Amazon Chiron 200, which is a 6-furrow reversible plough, 3 meters wide? Do you want me to use the Lemkin Titan 11, the 9-furrow reversible plough? That is 4.9 meters wide. Or do you want me to use one of the Jimper subsoilers, which in this game works the same as a plough? This one is also, well, it's 4.8 meters wide. It's essentially the same as the Titan 11. That one over there. Yeah, so the Jimper 9SR. Which one would you like me to use? It's your vote. It's your game. Head into the comment section down below. Let us know which one you want and why. And, of course, don't forget to actually cast your vote in the top right-hand corner. We're down to $21,000. Now, we had $35,000 when we started out on this madness. Why have we lost a bit of it? I thought we had... yeah, we did. We had $35,000. So why have we lost a little bit of money? I'm not quite sure about that. But anyway, this one is going to finish here. That one is doing absolutely just fine. So I think what we'll do is we will go back over and take a look at the big bud, just so we can see a little bit more. The plough does wiggle around a little bit. When you're going along the side of the hill, the plough does sort of wiggle around a bit. By the way, that field right over there next to us, which is, I think, field 25, looks like it's got a really steep bank on it all the way along. So I would like to do something with that field at some point. I think we will mow that field and turn it into bales. I think that would be great fun doing that field. I love the fact that it's got such a steep hill on it. So we are definitely doing something with that field, field 25. Field 27 has to a certain extent, but 25 has got the real bank going on it there. I think that's brilliant. So yeah, we are going to have a go with that. But anyway, if you've enjoyed this episode, then please head down below and give me a like. And if you really enjoyed it, then please tell your friends all about me. Get them to come and watch as well. That would be awesome. But until next time, thank you very much for watching. This is Frithgar. Goodbye, and see you later.